My son, our only son, Joe, who's turning 33 years old this week. He has been in and out of the Department of Corrections 4 different times, 4 different incarcerations over like a 12-year period. He talks about how insecure he feels. He's a small, slight person, and he's very often a target. And he has suffered a lot of brutal assaults. And when this happens, nobody seems to know anything about what happened or who did what. And many times he's the one who ends up getting put in, it sounds like solitary confinement. They isolate him when I think they should be doing something to the people that are acting this way. If they had any control over it, I understand how staffing is a real issue and how many correctional officer positions that we usually are down with. His security, his health, he gets hypoglycemic because of his alcoholism, but they have never given him any kind of special diet or anything. I've tried to advocate for him, but nobody will call me back. The only time I was able to speak to somebody, they said that nobody gets special treatment here, but this would be medically based. It's very frustrating and makes me feel very sad because he is a human being, and in his case, there are no victims for his crimes. There's no restitution, there's no damages, nothing's ever been stolen. There are no victims. All of his incarcerations are because of his alcoholism and marijuana use. You know, he is underneath all of this just a person like everybody else, like each one of us. The very first time he went into prison was into a private prison for drug and alcohol. They told me that it was for drug and alcohol treatment, that's what the private prisons were, and my husband and I cried tears of joy in the courtroom thinking he's gonna get treatment. Well, the first time he called us, he was so drunk that we couldn't understand him. And I tried to talk to somebody about this, and I found out through visiting that I met someone who said their son went in a healthy person and came out a heroin addict. And this is in our private prison. You know, we pay more for private prisons as taxpayers, and we have a contract. We need to keep those beds filled, and yet this is what we're dealing with. I would never have thought that could happen. And I tried to talk to people about it, and no one would return my calls, and I was told that this is a difficult problem. I cried for like 3 days over it. I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is government sponsored and there's money for this, and for him to be where he is, and yet they're letting this happen. And I tried to think of how can it happen, first of all? I mean, how can they allow it to happen? He's there to get help because that's what he needs to stay out of there. And instead, apparently it flows freely. I feel very frustrated. I've heard that there is money available, there is treatment for drug and alcohol problems, because he's his situation is very common. I've met so many people over the years that their son, their husband, their loved one also has substance use problems. And it's so upsetting to me to hear that apparently the money is available, and they know how important it is because they know how prevalent it is. And they're like everything else, the money doesn't get spent the right way. And it could be. If nothing else, why can't we, as our own people, why can't we hire someone ourselves to go give him treatment? Supposedly they take over all of that, but they don't. Or they don't provide substance abuse treatment. If they do, they do. Now they can say that they do, but what our son has told us that he has actually gotten, it's a drop in the bucket. It's saying that they're addressing it, but they're not. And it causes this continual, he's recycled constantly. He gets out of prison, he goes on probation. He flunks his probation because he's got to go to drug testing all the time, and then he loses his job, and then it's this horrible spiral. It's completely not only ineffective, but to us going through it, it's just devastating because he's got a certified neurobiological medical problem. I mean, addiction and alcoholism is a brain disease, and your brain can get sick just like any other organ. He was in Kingman when that riot happened, and it was on his unit, and I was trying to get him out for his safety, and they made light of the fact that, well, probably everybody wants their loved one taken away from there because it's a hot spot, but there's nobody, there's no understanding or sympathy or no one to intervene. We really need someone who can look at the situation and then make adjustments for safety. I would like everyone to know that there is a movement going on to abolish private prisons for the very reasons that they're immoral. We're using people for business. Private prisons should not be in operation, and they're so big in Arizona. And our legislators, I found out my own state legislator has a personal relationship with the people who run the private prisons, and they contribute to campaigns. I'm sure the general public would not want private prisons if they knew how they operated. That the guards don't get near the training that they get in the state for the state prison system. The qualifications for employment are much lower. The incidence of personal and mental health problems is significant. My son is constantly getting tickets because he's trying to take his shirt off so he can breathe. It's just so hot, and they have evaporative coolers. The fact that they're not responsive, and that the prison situation continues where they're not answerable to anybody for anything. They're above the law, they're above everything. It makes me feel very upset, and it makes me wonder, where is all the money going? Because we are paying $1.2 billion. And we know that they're making money. I saw where the Auditor General's office released a statement that the prison system is making $8.2 million off of the contracts for phones and video visiting. We live in a nice neighborhood, but we're on a fixed income. We shouldn't be paying $300 to talk to him for the tiny amount. It's just not right. No. Somebody somewhere is making a lot of money. The conditions that he lives under when he's in prison are making him, now that he's been going through this a number of years, it's really affecting his health. He looks terrible. He's bone thin. He's having all kinds of physical problems now, problems digesting because of the food. He's gone for months without ever being able to see outside. I mean, it's a medical fact that we all need vitamin D through sunshine, and we need vitamins, and his physical health is deteriorating and his mental health is deteriorating. The Department of Corrections doesn't correct anybody, first of all, and then they send them home physically and mentally and emotionally ill. He is angry, he's depressed, he's hopeless because of the felony that he has against him. It's ruined his life, and it's ruined our lives. He can't do any of the things that were his life goals, like become an EMT or a policeman or join the service. That affects everything. He can't even rent an apartment. A lot of people they never recover from that, because if you don't have a home, if you don't have a place to be, you're just not, you can't ever get ahead. We desperately need an independent oversight committee and an ombudsman, because we need someone who can speak for the citizens of this state. We want people to return from prison to be able to take care of their families, to work, to be productive, and most important, not to do anything that they're going to get arrested for again. And if they're going to be treated like they are, with no recourse, because as family members, and I'm on a Facebook feed with almost 1,000 other prison families, and we're all saying the same thing. We never can get anybody to listen to us or to look into something when we're afraid, when we're upset. There's nobody for us. We need somebody for us. We are just one family.